When Abby was diagnosed and I cried, I was crying as well for the fact I was crying probably selfishly, saying this wasn't what I had planned. This wasn't what I had in mind, that all my children were going to be normal and grow up and have boyfriends and get married. So I think a lot of the grieving is letting go of what we had planned, and even that is funny because we don't know what we have planned, but I think everyone in their mind thinks how they want their family and their life to go. So for me, I found it really hard to let go of Abby. Abby won't be normal. She's not going to have the friendships that our other two children will have. She's not going to fall in love. She's not going to get married and live happily ever after. It's going to be hard work for the rest of her life and the rest of our life that we're with her. And I don't know that you do actually come to terms with it. I think you've just got to keep living as best you can day by day. My daughter Abby has smith-magenis syndrome. For Abby, that means chronic sleep disturbance. She wakes very early every day between 4 and 5 o'clock. She is hyperactive, global delay, intellectual delay. They self-injure. She is very funny as well. They're affectionate and loving. She has no idea of personal space, so she's in everybody's face. They don't sleep because they have an inverted circadian rhythm, so therefore that means their melatonin is produced at the wrong time of the day. Our bodies produce melatonin in the afternoon that tell us to, it's time to sleep, whereas theirs is suppressed and they don't really produce theirs until the morning. So their whole body clock is back the front. And also self-injurious behaviours, and all of that kind of starts to show from about 18 months to 2 years of age. And then there's the aggressive behaviour. They're almost like a Jekyll and Hyde. 1 minute everything's fine, next minute it's a snap, and it can be over absolutely anything. Abby, I think she was probably a little bit over 2 when we first started to see a little bit of self-injurious behaviour, and she will hit her head with her hands if she gets frustrated, or can sometimes grab a toy or bang her head with it. She would occasionally, she'd scratch herself, just keep scratching in the one spot, and occasionally would bite herself. Abby has isolated our family a little bit because it's hard. When her behaviours are bad, you don't want to be out there because people just look at you and go, oh, you know what, that child needs a good smack. And it's not that, because that, it's far from that. So it kind of, you shouldn't be, but you do worry about being out in public and people seeing things go wrong. You don't want them to see it. So sometimes it's just so much easier to not go out and do the normal things. Puts a huge strain because having a family, as most people know, is hard anyway. It's demanding, and almost always there's at least one main breadwinner going off to work. So that in itself is hard. And then when you throw in a child with a disability that is demanding so much more time and attention and early intervention and doctor's appointments, and and then just trying to give the rest of the family the time, I found I was actually trying, I needed Andrew to be there more than what you probably would normally need your husband to be there. But yet we still have all the normal things that we have to do and pay the bills. So he needed to be at work, but I needed him here. So, it does put strain on the relationship that way. We can't have their friends over when Abby's here because she's aggressive to them. She will annoy them. She'll pull their hair. It's just the whole time is me trying to keep Abby away from her honing in on their friends, because it's just constant attention seeking as well.
So that's part of the syndrome.
Part of the syndrome. And they demand attention mainly from adults, and they don't care how they get the attention. If it's good behaviour, bad behaviour, more often than not, they know bad behaviour is going to get mum to react a little bit more. So, yeah, she has friends over, and Abby will be aggressive towards their friends, so it's not worth it. So the only time the children get to do the normal things, is in those 20 hours once a month.
Could you simply just ignore her?
No, if you ignore it, it just escalates.
And what does escalate mean?
If I ignored the behaviour, she would go on to have what we call, like most people would call it a tantrum, but it's more than a tantrum. It's a full-blown meltdown. So, it would be her being aggressive to that child, and then can pick up toys, can pick up furniture to hurt the child. It can mean that she drops to the floor and then would start kicking, headbanging, hurting herself to get somebody to come and react. Even had Emma, but she's so loving and so helpful to Abby, don't get me wrong, but one day she actually said to us, "Mum, I really love Abby, but at the same time I really don't like her." And that was because her life is governed by Abby, pretty much. We don't do the normal things, we only do the normal things when Abby's not there. So for her, I suppose there's also a resentment to Abby that she can't get to go off, and she can't have friends over at the drop of the hat. Everything for us has to be planned and organised. I really wanted to be there. I wanted to go. I wanted to meet these other families and see these SMS children, but at the same time, I felt very nervous about what I was going to see. At Camp Breakaway, they have a marquee set up as well for the entire weekend, which is a parents-only marquee, which is set up. It's amazing. It's set up. They have chairs and pillows and bean bags, magazines and newspapers that parents can just come and just sloth if they want to, read a paper, because those kind of simple little things are the things we don't get to do. And there's a coffee machine. They wait on us hand and foot the whole weekend, and it's a time when parents get to just talk openly about what kind of goes on day to day for us. Other families who go through exactly the same thing you go through day in, day out. We have amazing friends that are supportive, but they never really know what it's like to live with it every day. So we formed, at that very first camp, we met a family. Their daughter was a year older, and how many years on are we? 8 or 9 years on. They've remained to be one of our closest group of friends, and from meeting them at that very first Camp Breakaway. I've been to 4 camps, all 4 camps, and every year the camps have grown. So every year we're getting to meet more families, forging a bigger network of families, and sharing information between each other on what could work, what doesn't work. Our girls don't go to school, and they can't speak to their normal friends to tell them what it's like. And what 10-year-old wants to know what it's like, to be honest? So for them, it's a chance as well that they get to go for a full weekend, and they get to do normal things as well as do it with a group of people who know exactly what it's like. Not being fair. It's not fair that I don't have my friends sleep over. It's not fair that I can't go to the movies and things like that. So they do get to, and I know they talk about it, because Emma's told us that she made a few friends there, and they'd speak about how Abby takes mum and dad away, and then we have to entertain ourselves, and we don't get to do things that other families do. So it's a good thing for them. They cram so much into this program for us that we can do as much as we want or as little as we want. We get the weekend where we are pampered. We've had we go off site and we get our hair done, and I know when I was sitting there at the hairdressers for one mother, it was the first time she'd had her hair coloured or cut in like a couple of years. They take the fathers off-site as well, and they got to do things like paintball. We had a lovely day off-site where they took all the parents to a beautiful restaurant, and we got to eat like a 5-star meal. For the children, they have amazing programs as well, organised for them the entire weekend.
In terms of SMS children, I know that they can be so funny, they can be so engaging, they can be absolutely delightful. They've got great memories. Can you tell me about that side of Abby?
Abby will pick up anything that's new, and one of those things for me that always works against me is if I try to sneak in a new pair of shoes and wear them out or something. I'll be walking down the hallway, and in front of Andrew, she'll always go, new shoes, and it's like, no, Abby.
What helps you cope the most?
Respite.
And do you believe you get enough respite?
No, I don't. It's hard. Abby's been to places before where she gets to stay overnight, and she's been there, and after they've had her maybe 2 or 3 times, they rang to say, how do you get her back to sleep? And that's like, well, you don't. That's part of her syndrome. And then she's not been allowed to go because it's too hard. So, someone has her once a month for an overnight, and then they tell you, we can't have her, it's too hard. But here you go, you have her for the other 364 days of the year. Doesn't seem right.
And what does that make you want to do?
You just have to fight. I think we have to fight for more respite, for more services. We want to have these children, and we want to look after them as best we can, but we need help to be able to do it. We can't do it on our own.
And do you think more respite's the answer?
It definitely helps you. It helps to rejuvenate you for the next onslaught. That's the way I see it. I look at the calendar when I have respite, and it's like I can keep going because I know there's a break coming up, and then you have that break and you get to fire all engines again, ready for the next time. They have the most amazing group of volunteers there, who are so caring, so patient, so giving, and so non-judgmental, I think, as well. They see it, and they are caring for our children and get to experience firsthand how hard it is. So they were so willing just to let us have that break for that whole weekend and look out after our children, our SMS children, our atypical children. Amazing group of people.